The Crusades and their lasting impact on the Mediterranean world. The Crusades, spanning nearly 2 centuries from the late 11th to the 13th century, were transformative events that reshaped the Mediterranean world. While they were primarily religious and military campaigns aimed at reclaiming the Holy Land, their consequences extended far beyond their immediate goals. The Crusades significantly influenced the political, economic, cultural, and religious landscapes of the Mediterranean region. This essay examines the lasting impact of the Crusades on the Mediterranean world, focusing on the key changes they brought to the region and their enduring legacy. 1. Political transformations. 1.1 The shifting balance of power. The Crusades altered the balance of power across the Mediterranean. European powers, particularly those in Italy, strengthened their maritime and commercial presence in the region, while the Byzantine Empire was significantly weakened. The Byzantine Empire, the Fourth Crusade, 1202 to 1204, dealt a devastating blow to the Byzantine Empire when Crusaders sacked Constantinople, weakening its political and economic stability. This event marked the beginning of the empire's decline and its eventual fall to the Ottoman Turks in 1453. The rise of Italian city-states. Venice, Genoa, and Pisa capitalized on the Crusades to expand their influence. These city-states provided naval support and transport for Crusaders, gaining lucrative trade agreements and access to Eastern markets. 1.2 The Crusader states. The establishment of Crusader states in the Levant, such as the Kingdom of Jerusalem and the Principality of Antioch, introduced a European feudal model to the Eastern Mediterranean. Although these states were short-lived, they served as cultural and political bridges between East and West. 1.3 The Ottoman ascendancy. The long-term weakening of Byzantine and Crusader forces paved the way for the rise of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans would later dominate the Eastern Mediterranean, shaping the region's political and cultural identity for centuries. 2. Economic impacts. 2.1 Expansion of trade. The Crusades stimulated trade between Europe and the Eastern Mediterranean, fostering a vibrant exchange of goods, ideas, and technology. Trade routes. The Crusades opened up and secured critical trade routes connecting Europe, the Levant, and beyond. European merchants gained access to valuable goods such as spices, silk, and precious metals. The role of Italian merchants. Venice, Genoa, and other Italian city-states established strong trading networks in the Levant, dominating Mediterranean commerce. Their wealth and influence grew, laying the foundation for the Renaissance. 2.2 Agricultural and technological exchange. The Crusades facilitated the transfer of agricultural practices and technologies between East and West. European crusaders encountered advanced irrigation techniques, crop varieties, and architectural innovations in the Islamic world, many of which they adopted. 3. Cultural and intellectual exchange. 3.1 Transmission of knowledge. One of the most profound impacts of the Crusades was the transmission of knowledge. Contact between Crusaders and the Islamic world facilitated the flow of ideas, which profoundly influenced European intellectual and cultural development. Scientific and medical advances. Europeans were introduced to Arabic translations of Greek and Roman texts, as well as original contributions by Islamic scholars in fields such as mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. The Renaissance. The Crusades helped lay the groundwork for the European Renaissance by reintroducing classical knowledge and fostering an appreciation for Eastern art, science, and philosophy. 3.2 Artistic and architectural influences. The Crusades brought European artisans and architects into contact with Islamic art and architecture. This exchange influenced Gothic architecture, with elements such as pointed arches and intricate geometric designs reflecting Islamic aesthetic principles. 4. Religious and social consequences. 4.1 Intensification of religious divisions. The Crusades deepened religious divisions between Christianity and Islam, as well as between different Christian denominations. Christian-Muslim relations. The Crusades reinforced a narrative of religious conflict that persisted for centuries. This polarization influenced later interactions between Europe and the Islamic world, including colonial ventures and modern political conflicts. The schism between Eastern and Western Christianity. The sacking of Constantinople during the Fourth Crusade widened the divide between the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches, exacerbating the Great Schism of 1054. 4.2 Persecution of religious minorities. The Crusades also had devastating consequences for Jewish communities in Europe and the Middle East. Crusader armies often targeted Jewish populations, leading to pogroms and massacres that left a legacy of antisemitism. 4.3 The militarization of religion. The Crusades contributed to the militarization of Christianity, with the concept of holy war becoming a central feature of European religious thought. This militaristic mindset persisted into later periods, influencing events such as the Reconquista in Spain and the expansion of European colonial empires. 5. The legacy of the Crusades in the Mediterranean world. 5.1 Enduring cultural interactions. Despite the violence and destruction of the Crusades, they fostered long-term cultural interactions that enriched both Europe and the Islamic world. Trade, diplomacy, and intellectual exchanges continued to shape the Mediterranean region, creating a complex web of interdependence. 5.2 Shaping national and regional identities. The Crusades left a lasting imprint on the identities of the nations and regions involved. For Europeans, the Crusades became a symbol of Christian unity and heroism, while for the Islamic world, they represented resilience and the defense of their faith and lands. 5.3 Modern implications. The legacy of the Crusades is still evident in contemporary geopolitics. Conflicts in the Middle East and the rhetoric surrounding them often invoke the memory of the Crusades, highlighting their enduring symbolic power. Conclusion. The Crusades were more than just military campaigns. They were transformative events that reshaped the Mediterranean world. Politically, they altered the balance of power, paving the way for the rise of new empires and city-states. Economically, they stimulated trade and technological exchange, creating a dynamic network of interconnected markets. Culturally, they facilitated the transmission of knowledge and artistic influences that would shape European civilization for centuries. However, the Crusades also intensified religious divisions and left a legacy of conflict and persecution that continues to resonate. The Mediterranean world of today bears the imprint of the Crusades in its cultural diversity, historical memory, and enduring tensions. By examining their complex and multifaceted impact, we can better understand the profound ways in which the Crusades shaped the course of history and the interconnected world of the Mediterranean. 6. The role of maritime powers in the Crusades. The Mediterranean, as the central theater of the Crusades, saw the rise of maritime powers that played a pivotal role in shaping the outcomes and legacies of these campaigns. The Crusades not only depended on land-based military operations, but also required extensive naval support to transport armies, secure supply lines, and control key ports. 6.1 The ascendancy of Italian city-states. The Italian maritime republics, Venice, Genoa, and Pisa, emerged as dominant players in the Mediterranean during the Crusades. Their fleets were indispensable for transporting Crusader armies and maintaining logistical connections between Europe and the Levant. Venice leveraged the Crusades to establish a trade empire in the eastern Mediterranean. By negotiating favorable agreements, such as the Pact of 1202 during the Fourth Crusade, Venice secured control of key ports and trade routes. The Venetian fleet's involvement in the sack of Constantinople significantly bolstered its wealth and influence. Genoa and Pisa also profited from the Crusades, establishing commercial outposts in the Levant. Their rivalry with Venice led to competition for dominance over Mediterranean trade, shaping the region's economic landscape. 6.2 Naval warfare and port cities. Control of ports such as Acre, Tyre, and Jaffa was vital for the success of the Crusader states. The Hospitallers and other orders maintained strongholds in these cities, ensuring that supplies and reinforcements could flow from Europe. The loss of these ports, particularly Acre in 1291, marked the end of Christian control in the Holy Land. 6.3 Economic transformation of the Mediterranean. The Crusades transformed the Mediterranean into a hub of commerce and cultural exchange. European powers not only transported armies but also established permanent trade networks, introducing Eastern goods such as spices, silk, and glassware into European markets. This influx of wealth laid the foundation for the Italian Renaissance, as city-states used their profits to invest in art, science, and exploration. 7. Intellectual and technological impact. The Crusades were instrumental in facilitating the exchange of knowledge and technology between East and West. While the primary goal of the Crusades was military and religious, the interactions they fostered had far-reaching intellectual consequences. 7.1 Knowledge transfer from the Islamic world. The Crusades brought Europeans into contact with the advanced civilizations of the Islamic world. Crusaders returned home with knowledge in areas such as mathematics and science, Arabic numerals, algebra, and works by scholars such as Al-Khwarizmi and Avicenna enriched European scholarship. Medicine. Islamic medical texts, including those by Ibn Sina, the canon of medicine, influenced European practices, particularly in surgery and pharmacology, navigation and engineering. Innovations in shipbuilding, cartography, and military engineering, including the use of the astrolabe and siege engines, were adopted and refined in Europe. 7.2 The role of translation centers. Centers such as Toledo in Spain and Antioch in the Levant became hubs for the translation of Arabic and Greek texts into Latin. These texts reintroduced classical knowledge to Europe, which had been preserved and expanded upon by Islamic scholars.